Third speaker is Professor Denis Ocholla. He's from the University of Zululand. He is one of our top library and information science researchers. He has received research awards, including the NRF Established Researcher Rating. So he's highly qualified to talk to us about the changing research landscape. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me see if my slide is there. Thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of this important occasion, which is celebrated after every second year, and is always inviting very distinguished people from different disciplines to feed our professional library in information science. And it's a great opportunity for me, who has not been traveling for the last 2 years, also to be here. And wherever you hear Western Cape, you want to travel there, I've got other reasons to be here as well. I would like to talk about, reflect on the research landscape in higher education. I will not talk, I brought in library and information science at the end of my title, because I do not want to talk about higher education as a whole. It's a huge thing which involves a lot of big guns and stakeholders. So I don't want to immerse myself there. So I'll focus more on library and information science education, also for the reason that I've been in that field for so many years and familiar with that territory than anything else. I'll talk about elephant in the room, which I see as digital scholarship, as COVID-19, and also the fourth industrial revolution. That is what I see as the elephant in the room. And because of inequality in our institutions or in our lives, we don't see fourth industrial revolution the same way, or neither do we see COVID-19 the same way. People see it very differently. I'll also say something about the response by academics and libraries to that environment, and some echoes in the corridor, echoes down the corridor, not in the corridor, down the corridor. Those are some of the views and perceptions and narratives that are coming from my colleagues when we were discussing these issues virtually regarding their experiences in that regard. When I was invited to talk here, I was told to speak to some recent publication that we did last 2020, and the one that was published this year in 2021. One of them, the first one, which has been drawing a lot of attention. You know, we academics, we like to see how many reads and how many downloads are taking place, and citations, is the one on the right-hand side, which talks about readiness of academic libraries in South Africa to research, teaching, and learning support in the fourth industrial revolution. At that time, that was a very trendy topic. And I did talk about it for the first time at the University of Pretoria, I think in 2019. And then found it very interesting, and then later on we applied to libraries as well, because that time I was talking about library information education on its own. Then the second one that I was actually told to focus on is the one on the left, which echoes down the corridor, experiences and perspectives of library and information science education during COVID-19. So I'll talk to it at some point. Now, as any other academic, we always rely on our research. You have to rely on some great thinkers. And I think some of us are familiar with this, maybe not their pictures, but these people. Maybe because we have cited their work, or at least they shaped your thinking in different ways. I think you've had talks about Daniel Bell, talking about the post-industrial revolution, post-industrial revolution. Manuel Castell, known for information society. And we call, Tolvin also talking about mostly the network society. And of course, Frederick Lancaster. I do remember having a book in my, written by Lancaster. And also, I have a book also on my shelf written by Daniel Bell. What brings all these sort of people together, including the most recent one by the Fourth Industrial Revolution by Klaus Schwab, which I had a privilege to read when traveling from one country to another. You know, when you are traveling by plane, normally you've got nothing to do, and you pick up a book and you read through it. I'll more or less focus more on the last one, that is the Fourth Industrial Revolution. This quotation, the Fourth Industrial Revolution will affect every essence of our human experience. And it is already affecting every essence, every essence of that experience. I'm glad that my colleague was here, the keynote speaker who spoke very well, talked about data. What is Fourth Industrial Revolution? I would take it as it is characterized by a fusion of technologies that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. I think I take it from that point. I would not go probably up, because those are the technologies. And these technologies have been talked about so many times. The cloud computing, mobile technologies, machine learning, 3D printing, big data, analytics. I think the keynote speaker talked very much about what this data is about, the Internet of Things, the RFID technologies, mostly used for tracking, for instance, and of course the cognitive computing. So these are all very important talks around technologies that are defining what they call the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And these technologies are with us every day. Today I was very amazed when I was using a tracker to come to this place, and I was being warned that there is a police, a mobile, yes, somewhere around there. I was so amazed, and I was remembering these technologies. So they're just with us. We just use them, and we don't even experience them because they're going on all the time. Now, we also talked about COVID-19. So my point is that the Fourth Industrial Revolution is an elephant in the room in higher education, and we have to talk about it. We have to do something about it. I'm glad that people are already talking about them. We are already doing something about it, but because of inequality in our society, they are not happening at the same time, at the same pace, and that is understandable. The second elephant in the room is COVID-19. We've talked about it also several times. Some times back, if you remember, we don't talk anymore about the origin of COVID. Neither do we talk about the spread of COVID, or the politicking, or the arrogance and ignorance that has been noted regarding the COVID-19. We are now talking more about protection and prevention. We are talking about vaccination. And we are counting deaths on a daily basis. And if you look at some of the figures here, you'll see terrible deaths. Over 4.8 million people dying from COVID. And the very high, South Africa losing about 75,774 people, 774 deaths. I was looking at this tracker that was mentioned, John Hopkins University data in coronavirus, which I think fits normally the World Health Organization. And I was looking at the figures that I had in February, and comparing to this South African case, it was 46,000 deaths. Now we talk about 75. So it's a big elephant in the room of higher education. If you look at Africa, somebody can say that, okay, it didn't depend so much. Africa has been known for wrong things or bad things. This is an area where we probably can say that we are fortunate or unfortunate, but I think we are fortunate because we never had so many deaths as compared to what is going on in developed countries, like, for instance, in the United States, in Russia right now, in India right now. India is not a developed country. In India, what's going on in Brazil and Argentina is terrible. So this is the situation we have in South Africa, but it's not about figures only. It's not about this data only. What we are saying is, what has it done to higher education? What has this done to higher education in that sense? And it has done a lot it has brought a lot of change. In fact, I see as if when we are talking about for the Industrial Revolution, when people started to talk about higher education, it was like something that is a lip service. People just talk about it, we go, meet, talk about it, and we don't forget about it. And COVID-19 has escalated it. It has made things that were talked about as if the prediction that will happen 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, to just come out immediately. It has escalated it. Now we are talking about virtual things. Who would actually on earth think about virtual parliament those are very, very, very conservative institutions, virtual parliament. Recently there was virtual court case going on. Courts that are supposed to have people inside the court or courtroom are done virtually. In fact, it was even amazing that outside court, meaning that a judge is running a court case virtually. I think it was in a mall or somewhere else. So those are very, very interesting things that we have to pay attention to. And COVID-19 has made us do things or escalate things that were prediction for the Industrial Revolution that could not have been done overnight. In my institution, for instance, where I come from, and experience we got from elsewhere, the issues of document transfer, signage of documents, meetings, we had to go there physically to those meetings, to those kind of things. So it has made a lot of changes in that particular direction as well. Now, the library response. This is based on a study that I also mentioned earlier, which can be read there. It has been very interesting to see some of the trends that has happened in libraries over the last few years, which were at the readiness, which came even before or after, even without knowing that this for the Industrial Revolution. This has been going on in libraries. For instance, user experience over there, social media. I don't want to read all of them, but you notice that there are some areas which have been, most of our libraries in South Africa from the 26 universities have got scores in these categories. There are 23 categories beyond 50%. For instance, Ask a Librarian, tutorials, LibGuides, open scholarship. Scores are normally, but there are some areas where the scores are below 50%. Like, for instance, services to differently abled, or to user experience scoring 19%, or to look at the one on research data services scoring 27%, and of course things like borrowing, ICTs, and of course the area of makerspace. And by the time we finished this study, there was also the issue of artificial intelligence and robotics being used in some other libraries. For instance, University of Pretoria at that time, I think Lindy as a robot that was used in University of Pretoria. But what is encouraging is that our libraries are already above 50%, majority of the libraries. And another point to make is that we have some kind of a kind of a checklist, not a checklist, but something that can be used to measure what happens at the library, something that you can start using. I'm sure that the list could continue if we did this study this particular time. Somebody raises his hand and tell me that, for instance, this is a new thing that we are doing. There is also, if you look at libraries and their responsiveness, normally in South Africa, for instance, we have 3 categories of classes of universities: University of Technologies, University, comprehensive universities, and what we call traditional universities. Comprehensive universities normally combine both vocational and traditional university aspects. Now, if you look at the scores, there are about 26 universities here. If you look at the scores, also not a question of trying to compare universities, but just of seeing the level of entrenchment of these new trends in these universities. You'll notice that most of them are already scoring above 50%, which is quite good. Some of them are actually scoring over 70%. Again, it's not about the data or figures, but the data are not normally as accurate as you might want to think about, but it's about the activities that are going on already in the domain. We notice some universities that are not doing very well, but they can always use this to check where, especially the previous slide, to see where they're going wrong. Most of these universities was established very recently, and some of them are actually coming from most of the University of Technologies, and we know the reason why the library might not be as established as as those in, let's say, more established universities. Now, this is a kind of a map that was created based on analysis of Scopus database that reflects what you perhaps find when you talk about what you call the fourth industrial revolution and some of the concepts that are coming in. So you can see the cyber physical system, the embedded system. Now, I'm bringing this one here mostly to see to what extent is our research actually in the country, in LIS or in the field, matching with some of the things going on here, or to find out to what extent is our libraries doing research or engaging activities that fit or match with what is going on here. And of course, Internet of Things, you can see areas like industrial revolutions, big data, decision making. There's also an interesting area they are talking to sustainable development, which is not only, but some things that in the periphery, you may find those records, about 5,000 something records that we analyzed during that period of time. And there are some things that you might find one or two documents that are at the periphery, they can't come in this map. But these are the areas that are coming in the central map. Now, it was very interesting in this, at this conference to see that we already, our research or our activities are already bring in some of these concepts in them, including what, like when you talk about data-related issues, or even cloud computing over there. Recently, I was reading a paper written by somebody on cloud computing and academic libraries. So this is something that we need to think about very carefully. How is library connected or linked with some of these concepts? And they are, because they are involved in different ways. Now, I was trying to do a quick check on what is kind of research we do in the country to see how is our research connected with what is there in previous slide. Now, of course, as any other study, there's limitations because my research was only using the term library information science in Scopus under social sciences. But the concept that I've found here have been actually, repeated in other studies. Of course, academic library, you can see some of the main clusters. Of course, South Africa would have to come as a major cluster because of from the title or the abstract or the keywords field, you'll notice that South Africa comes in many times. People studies on South Africa or in parts of South Africa or in Western Cape or particular territories within the country. So you see some of countries like Zimbabwe coming in the map because of studies related to those particular countries, particular regions. Now, you also see studies that are related to particular libraries. Academic libraries coming very strongly about trying to look for public libraries, but most of studies are actually linked to academic libraries. And if you look at academic library link, you can also see the areas that are, some examples of the studies that are related to academic libraries. And examples are those which are linked to, for instance, some of the studies are dealing with education, and then some studies are more, the blue ones I think looks like dealing more with technologies. So this map can give you an idea also what is going on in the country, what type of research is going on in the country from that point of view. Now, you can also be able to present it this way. I think this one is much more clearer. I would have wanted to remove, I think, because it was compiled hurriedly for this particular occasion, I would have liked to remove some, what we call, some words here that do not really matter, or some concepts here that do not really matter. But you can see, these are some of the major links. The links, the yellow link is very strong studies in influence literature and so on speaking. The blue link is look like more technology. And then the link here, the red link is more about, I think the red link is more about technology. The blue link is more about education. And then the green link is showing something connected mostly with libraries and library research. Some areas are not coming out here very clearly because like knowledge and other areas because of other reasons. Like for instance, not much research is going on in that particular area, or they are not formed in a very strong network or strong link. I'll pass this one quickly and just say that you can also represent it this way. although this is much earlier study, which more or less reflects what is represented in what we did just the other day. Some of the broader areas that come in here are information technology, information seeking and retrieval, and knowledge management, and that's and about spaces like South Africa, Botswana, Africa, Sub-Saharan African universities. The other areas that you normally would find in the periphery: information bibliometrics, research, ethics, legal depth collaboration, and others. In fact, a lot of things fall within the periphery here. These are the emerging and new areas that are coming in the field. Now, if you look at our academics, LIS education as a whole, this was based on a publication between 2007 and 2016. We also analyzed Scopus that time. Now, I'm not trying to compare universities here because, as I mentioned here, institutional output not weighted. So the staff publication ratio was not weighted here. So because some departments have got a very small number of staff. In fact, most staff departments in South Africa have got something like 5 members of staff. University of Pretoria has got a very large number of staff, and UNESA. So they are likely to have more publications. So it's not weighted. What I want to emphasize here is that academics, that very few of them publish papers that are indexed in either Scopus or Leicester. In fact, it's worse in Web of Science. It's much lower in Web of Science. Scopus normally come more at the middle. And we have to question ourselves, is that how we want to go into this the fourth industrial revolution? Or what do we have to do about it? Does it talk about quality or quantity, or what does it talk about? We have to engage in that one at some level. If you look at collaboration, also, it's not doing very well. South African allies collaboration 2007 and 2016. I was trying to do a repeat study, and I noticed that not much has changed in this particular area. So this is also an issue. There's a lot of internal collaboration and less inter-institutional collaborations. This also applies international collaboration. It's also very bad. You can just see a few collaborations here: University of Botswana, UJ. You look at another one here: University of KwaZulu-Natal, UNESA, Nigeria. So international collaboration in our field is also very limited. But overall, we have got a good collaboration. I don't want to go into that one because it don't give me the picture that I wanted. I just need to put more data in to see some of the links that are happening there. But of course, I was happy that my name is there. Now, I got very little time remaining, but I'll try to run through these ones quickly. Now, this is one thing I was told to focus on, and I'll see if I can give it 10 minutes, and then I'll be done. Is it okay, share? Yes. 10 minutes, I think I'll be done by that. Whew, I was trying to rush so that I get to the good time. Now, this study was done very recently. I was invited to a special issue of the Journal of Library Management, the editor of the journal. And I had to do a very hard study. It was on experience perspectives of library-informed science education during COVID-19. There are some few research questions, but I was asked by this meeting, this symposium, to focus on challenges and opportunities, which actually was good for me because I don't have to go into those long stories of experiences and actually sort of perceptions. Sorry. As any good scholar, you always want to have some kind of framework. I was using disaster management life cycle, where you can have this theory, administrative, social, economic, and technological, which is not there, and then the stages. In fact, under COVID-19, under normal disaster environment, you always have before, during, and after. Because of COVID-19, it's not possible. You keep on going back and forth. We think that we finished, new variant has come in. We think that you're going to level 1 or 2, then you're taking level 3, from our own understanding. So This is the framework I was using mostly to do the analysis of the disaster management, and I'm also using pest analysis. I don't want to use this one here because I use it mostly to analyze it from pedagogical point of view. That is using what we call technology pedagogical content knowledge. Now, methodology is, I would just summarize, it was a qualitative study. Data was collected from a number of, I think, from 11 countries, and 8 countries from 11 universities. Most of the participants in this this survey were fairly established people in the university who have been a lot of experience. Professors were there. We got heads of departments, and I think there'll be a few deans from those institutions. So the people who responded, and they responded by virtually very, very generously. They had long stories about everything. Now, again, the results, I also look at the challenges and opportunities. I decided to summarize these challenges or the experiences, perceptions, challenges, opportunities, using PESET analysis. So I categorize some as political issues. Those are managerial issues, administrative and decision-making issues. And we got economic issues, and we have got social issues, and of course, technological issues. So in each category, I use that analysis to. Now, what we find out is that research protocol has to change. There's a lot of infodemic or misinformation. There will be a changing role of IT. Research process is becoming more cumbersome. Research ethics is affected. We have to revise and review the research ethics policies. Conference travels, some people think we're benefiting very much from conference travels, and it has been affected. Conferences have got their benefit. I think there's some benefit that you can't get if you do conferences virtually. Research funding and budget has cut. Some institutions actually have cut budget during this time, and so it has affected research. Research output has been affected. This one needs to be verified from institution to institute to establish whether the research output has actually been affected. Costly internet and digital resources. I don't remember that since COVID, I never asked my institution for a single cent, but I'm using my internet and data. Maybe I just want to be, so it affects students more than staff. A lot of inequality and digital divide experienced by both staff and students. Infrastructure is lacking. Not all institutional resource. There's too much time for teaching at the expense of research. This is said yes, and some people are saying no. Then there's scholarship disrupted. Of course, there's disruption of scholarship. Abuse of freedom and inadequate accountability is also happening. And also IT knowledge and skills gap is also a big problem. So these are the issues that, in summary, that were mentioned under challenges. And opportunities, research increase due to work flexibility. This is already contradicting the previous one. And that's why I was saying some people say yes and a no. Research cost reduction, this is obvious. These are very big research cost reduction because a lot of money that would have been spent on travels and also in field work and the rest, and more particularly institutions where funding was either suspended, it's even worse or even better. More time for research. Again, this is contradicting. New skill development opportunities are there. There's a lot of creativity, a lot of innovation, a lot of coming from self-learning. There's a lot of things that I've learned on my own that I wouldn't have learned over a number of years. And of course, the issue of review of research methodology and data collection, I think this is an issue that has to be addressed. How do you review research methodology and data collection, especially when you're dealing with qualitative studies, like ethnographic studies that requires you to be filled. And the issue of research collaboration. Research collaboration is an issue, and for the National Revolution rapidly embracing actually the COVID-19 issues. New research topics are emerging, and also research innovation and creativity is seen as an opportunity. And then, of course, library access and success is also improved during this time because we rely on the library more than we did before. Conclusions. I think, has COVID-19 disruptions and certainly changed research planning? I think I would like to read this one. And I said, yes, it has. Some people may say, no. Like investment in research, funding of research, execution of the productivity of research. 2, how important is decision and administrative or management interventions essential for the changing research paradigm? How important is university management important for research at this particular point? Is research policy, for instance, research ethics, revision and review essential? How far can access and use or application of ICT, innovation, transformation, self-learning, and flexibility, as noted in the study, be improved? How far can these things be improved? How strong is our research visibility, e.g., for instance, our web presence, open access, into repositories, conference seminars and workshops, indexing outlets, and impact? How far are we with these things? How ready are our libraries and research for digital scholarship for the Industrial Revolution? And also, how can the challenges be turned into opportunities? For instance, technological factor. Is there a link between fourth industrial revolution and COVID-19 in relation to library enforcement education? I say yes. There's a very strong link there. And is there any close association between opportunities and technological factors, which will determine the new normal for LIS in the future? I also think that there is. Do we need a longitudinal study to monitor these dynamics? Because these things keep on changing. We have a framework here, which I'm just 1 minute finishing now. Now, this is a framework that I think should be talked about, should be debated about in higher education, especially when it comes to research. I will probably remove the area of curriculum because that applies largely to teaching and learning, but also to research and teaching and learning. They are more or less the same thing. Students have to be competent, creative. I think both students have this time when we need skills like critical thinking skills or problem-solving skills. We need things like creativity and innovation, something mentioned here, and so on and so forth. We require to focus on skills and competencies in all areas. Staff have got to change. They have to be competent, adaptive, and so on and so forth. Libraries have to be resourced. They have smart staff, responsible, and services should be accessed anywhere, everywhere, anytime. This is the new normal. Is that these things have to be provided all everywhere. Stakeholders have got progressive, adaptive. Stakeholders have done very well. They've been very receptive to the changes. Things that would have taken us years to convince our management to change. Because of COVID-19, you just say as they go. Things that would take our senates to discuss for ages. People would talk about it for ages. Now you just go, they agree because people are dying, COVID-19. Things that it's very amazing how receptive people are in management, in management among staff and students. Students already they started actually complaining at the beginning, but now they're in because they are now seeing the benefit of doing the same. And something here like, for instance, jobs have changed. Anytime, anywhere, everywhere. I'm working here, I'm working in my office everywhere, every time. It's nice to work anywhere, everywhere. I can even be working from Nairobi or from Japan and still do my job. And I like it because I'm retiring next year. I would like to do job everywhere, anytime. I don't have to be sticky to a particular place. So it has become a new norm. And of course, policies have to change. Technology has to change. And of course, so these things inform research. So smart LIS education and research will have to take cognizance of these factors. And I think I'm coming to the end. I would like to just make the last quote here. I'll leave that particular section. This is from one of my participants. The ground has shifted under my feet and my confidence as a digital migrant professor has taken. Personal safety and well-being has taken a new importance, but with its certain cherished liberties of association and traveling, once again leading to anxiety. So what we are trying to say is there was a talk by the DVC about new normal. Our new normal is now here. And we have to work within that framework. There are limitations to this particular study, this work, which I've also listed there. And I would wish to thank you very much for listening.